Welcome to Give and Take, the positives in life. And today's topic is N, in quote unquote, vision your world. So envision your world. And we have a guest today, and she will introduce herself. So welcome.
Thank you. Cicely, thank you for having me here.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Dr. Samantha Slotnick, and I'm a behavioral optometrist.
Mm-hmm.
And that means I take a holistic approach to vision care, and I do my best to try to help people to experience their use of their vision to the utmost potential. I want them to be comfortable, efficient, effective, and not just in using their eyes and gathering information, but also in using the visual information itself, so putting themselves forward into the world. That concept of envisioning your world, it's very important and central to how I help my patients. The concept that a lot of people discuss, they say, oh, the eyes are the windows to the soul. And I think that that's true, but it's really looking from the perspective of a person who's on the outside looking into another person. Mm-hmm. But we can just as readily flip that window around and think about that person who's looking out through that window. Right. And that's how we envision our world. Mm-hmm. We look at our own outlook, and when we change how readily we see the world and gather information, we change what we see as possible, what we're capable of creating for ourselves in terms of comfort, mm-hmm. in terms of being able to fulfill your own interests, to picture and visualize a world that you want to have for yourself. And I have gotten into this field because I had actually my own vision problems. So my visual journey started actually out of the egg. As an infant, I had a bias of one eye wasn't as good as the other eye.
Same with me.
You did.
I had a lazy eye.
You did.
Mm-hmm, which corrected.
Was it lazy as in it turned, or did it just not see as well as the other eye?
It didn't see as well as the other eye, but it corrected itself, even though I wasn't very good patient with my glasses.
Okay.
Because I didn't like them. Pink and blue they were.
I had pink and blue.
And I didn't want to wear them, but
Yeah.
the eye just corrected itself more or less.
Wearing the glasses helped you to balance out the pathways of information coming through the two
Right.
eye channels,
Mm-hmm.
and helped your brain start to gather it as a single unified 3D or stereoscopic picture, solid
Right.
sense of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
And so I have 20/20 vision still, believe it or not. I only need glasses for reading, but my vision is like, when I went the other day, he said, "You're beyond 20/20."
I love going beyond 2020. So I love that phrase too. Mm-hmm. When we say beyond 2020, it's, people often think, well, I can see really small. Mm-hmm. So that number is really about eyesight, which is a single factor that's involved in vision. Okay. But going beyond 2020 includes, well, you have two eyes, and first they need to see a single image by aiming in the same place, right? Mm-hmm. And if they're not aiming in the same place, you may not see a single image.
Right.
We may actually look at some text, and this happens with kids all the time. I ask them, do you ever see double? And they say no. And I ask them, well, when you're looking at words on the page, do they ever kind of pull apart like this? And kids often say, they do all the time, actually.
Right.
And that means that they're having trouble with that eye teaming skill. If they are getting their eyes on point, then they need it to be clear as well.
Right.
And you said you use glasses to make it easier for you to see clearly. But that didn't change the fact that your eyesight, your 20/20 vision, you still have that same capacity.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking far or you're looking near.
Right.
You can see that same 20/20 capacity, but you're using the support of lenses to make it easier for you to see at near.
Right.
So it modifies the focus.
That's interesting. I have never heard it being put like that, so I appreciate that you sharing, because when I heard that, I really didn't know what that meant.
Right.
And so you've really fine-tuned as exactly what that means.
So in addition, if we want to continue to go beyond 2020, we also are gathering information not just in one place, but over an area. So we need efficient eye movement skills to be able
Right.
to go basically following moving targets, but also in a stable world to just move our vision from point to point. And when we do that, we need to first use our peripheral vision.
Okay.
If we don't have our peripheral vision working for us, how would we know when we're looking at point A exactly where is point B, so that we can
Right.
make an accurate estimate of looking from that A point to this B point over here in one shot?
Because I see everything.
So, yeah.
I mean, I see everything. Sometimes I see too much.
So you're bringing up a point of basically you use your peripheral vision.
I do.
And you're gathering all this information.
Wow.
So you're a visionary to start with, right?
I am.
Yeah.
So it made sense when
And
he
so-
said that.
And that goes back into that visual output. You know, how do we change our outlook? Part of it is what do we take in, but we have to open up that window so that we can gather more at a time.
Exactly.
More efficiently, so that when we see something flash up in an instant, we can gather it.
Right.
And have an organization of space. Gathering information efficiently is one of the things that helps us be good students in school
That's right.
and good students in life, because there's so much to learn.
Exactly. And it's funny, the reason they check me too is because I have a history of glaucoma in the family. My mother's had it for a long time in her life. And so one of the doctors, well, actually this one that I'm seeing now, he said that, and the one before that, I'm probably not going to get it. Because he said if he didn't know that I had glaucoma in my family, he would not even have done all the checks that he did.
Interesting.
Because my eyesight is so good
Right.
that he wouldn't even have bothered. But because of that history, he wants to just check the pressure and stuff. But they said I probably would never get glaucoma, which I'm holding on to. And I'm
Well,
staying with that thought.
If you stay with that, you can maybe keep
That's right.
manifesting that reality for
Exactly.
yourself. And,
That's
and
right.
I hope that you do. But glaucoma is interesting. It's actually got the subtitle of the sneak thief of vision, because patients who have glaucoma, they may experience visual loss and not become aware of it. It's actually a very interesting disease to bring up in this context of two-eye seeing and peripheral vision, because
Right.
in glaucoma, most of the time, it's a peripheral vision loss that occurs.
Right.
But you may lose the peripheral vision of one eye, but the other eye perfectly well sees in that area, so you don't have this
So
peripheral
one
vision.
compensates for the other.
Right, and so most people don't realize that there may have been a loss.
Right.
Plus, the brain is so smart, and we
Compensates, huh?
yes. So we do a lot of interesting things. For one, if you take your survey of the world and you keep your eyes moving, whatever little area that's missing, which is called a scotoma, an area that's missing in your visual field, that missing area is going to get covered as soon as you move your eye.
Okay.
So we keep that information that's the background, and we only notice what's really changing in the foreground or the figure.
Right.
So the visual information is getting filled in, not only by the two eyes, but also by the brain. And we don't really see in a three-dimensional world.
Right.
It's a four-dimensional world, because we have space and we also have time.
Right.
So that time factor is, if you see something a moment ago, you expect it's still going to be there because it's not getting up and moving. So we see that into the next moment, and we sustain that. So we have time.
You know, before we go, because I don't want to lose this, because this is a very important month that we're coming into, and so we want to talk about the important month we're coming
Thank you
into.
for bringing that up. I would have completely left that
Oh,
out.
see it. Thank
So I had shared with Cicely that, yes, that August is National Children's Vision and Learning Month.
you. Right.
And it's a timely time to have that conversation
It is.
as children are getting back into the mode of school. And a lot of the patients who come to me, they may have vision problems that interfere with their ability to read,
Right.
to learn, to comprehend what they're reading, and also just to pay attention.
Right.
Summer is wonderful because kids often have these opportunities to go out and explore,
Sure.
and they show themselves as they really are without these externally imposed requirements that often come in the classroom.
Right.
There are some kids who, it doesn't matter what you put in front of them, they want to learn, they want to know, right? They want to figure things out. I think every child is a born scientist that wants to figure out how the world works.
Right.
And I enjoy trying to cultivate that interest in exploring and learning your world firsthand.
Right.
If you want to know about gravity, we'll simply drop something. You know, that's how we develop.
Sure.
So when it comes to learning in the classroom, sometimes there are kids who seem like they're smart in everything but school. But then why is it that that child who's smart in everything but school, you put them in the classroom and they just don't perform? The parents who come to me that say, you know, my child is just not fulfilling his potential. I know my son is smart. I know he is bright. I know he's curious, but he feels bad about himself in the classroom. And it's gotten to the point that we end up in the homework war. Fourth grader coming home and in an absolute all-out war to sit down and get the homework done. And it's not just a disruption with a child, right?
Sure.
It becomes a disruption with a family. How much energy does a mom have to take to get the child to sit down and focus?
Right.
And that's if you have one child. What if you have 3 children and the other 2 also need help, need attention, need support on any number of other activities? And if you have to redistribute your time and energy to focus on just getting this one kid to get through something, the parent is often pulling themselves off of other things that also need time and energy.
Right.
And then there's the fight that happens, and it's not always just the fight between mom and the child. There's also the fight of the other kids that may be fighting and need attention, or the parents who are fighting about what should they do.
Okay.
And if they're in school and the teachers say, well, he's meeting his grade level, you finally get to the point of, who's going to help my child?
Right.
He's making grades, but this is not the smart kid I know in the summer. This is not the kid who, this is not his potential, right?
Right.
So one of the things is to understand that there are often vision problems that interfere with their ability to sit and read. In fact, we talked about seeing with 2 eyes, and that just getting the 2 eyes on point is difficult. So I'm going to just show you, for example, if you look at my eyes, I'm going to look at my finger. And as I bring my finger closer, you can see that my eyes turn in towards each other.
Yeah.
For some kids to turn their eyes in towards each other, it's very difficult. And for some, it's even painful.
Wow.
And so they put in this effort to bring their eyes together to keep single vision. But they can't maintain it, so it breaks apart. And then they bring it together again, and they gather some more information, and then it breaks apart.
Wow.
And these little interruptions are going on as they gather words across the line
The leakages,
all day long. Leakages of energy.
Yeah.
They have to reinvest themselves every time they put their eyes back on point. Their concentration gets broken.
Right.
And then often they may get picked up as they can't hold their attention on something.
Yeah, wow.
And then a frequent buzzword is that, you know, teachers may say, maybe he has an attention deficit problem.
Right.
But the mom may say, you know, but I see my kid go home and play with Legos for an hour and a half without any disruption.
Right.
Why would I think they have an attention problem? Well, they'll sit and watch videos about something that's really interesting. Is there an attention problem? Maybe it's the form of requirement energetically, and that this effort is too much for the child. So some kids struggle through, and they may do it inefficiently.
Right.
They may do it with lack of comprehension. They'll read the words, but they don't think about what they're reading.
They're processing it. Right.
And then you have this whole other branch where these kids, they just simply cannot tolerate it, and they refuse to do the work, and they let it go.
Right.
And so when you get to that point that the child is avoiding it, they're pushing it aside. It may start as procrastination. And there may be some behavioral things that pop up.
Sure.
There, in some cases, the little bit of joking around as a way to take a break. I was guilty of that as a kid. The class clown behavior. Let me make a joke, take a little break, and then I, you know, get the release and the laugh and come back to it.
Right.
Other kids have different behavioral breaks. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom. Well, you just went to the bathroom. How many times do you have to go to the bathroom?
Right.
You didn't drink anything, right? So when those little breaks keep coming up, or misbehaviors, sometimes the kids lash out, they're frustrated. These are ways that they're letting you know, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
And there's actually a study that just came out. There was a national survey of children's health. The survey included over 75,000 children. And there was a very strong correlation between children who have attention deficit disorder or hyperactivity disorder and those who have vision problems that are not correctable with glasses or contacts. Vision problems that are not correctable with glasses or contacts, what does that mean if you can't correct a vision problem by giving the child glasses? That means vision therapy is a way to help these children.
So it's a teaching of the eyes, a therapy of the eyes.
It's retraining the brain on how to make more efficient, effective use of the eyes or visual information.
So as we talk about that, I would like to see some of those pictures in regards to the looking at the eye. Some beautiful pictures.
If we can look at that, we have some images, there you go, with children who, and adults actually, who are in a vision therapy program. This child's tracking a ball. He had such difficulty tracking a ball, we put him on the floor so that he would be able to do it without interference of gravity, essentially.
Okay.
If we can flip through. And this one is eye-hand coordination, putting pegs in a pegboard as it's rotating around.
Oh.
And this young lady is working on something called the Brock string. This gives her feedback on when her eyes are both pointing in the same direction.
Okay.
And this child is doing a red-green activity with one eye sees the red parts, one eye sees the green parts. She's actually got focusing lenses of different power, so she's taking turns either seeing with the right eye or the left eye, and she has to use visual memory in order to match up some of these pictures. Okay. She's got to look for subtle differences in the pictures.
Lovely.
This is a telebinocular. This piece of equipment, this is not a telebinocular. That's a telebinocular. This piece of equipment is a very nice, interesting old technique. This was somewhere in the 1920s, this piece of equipment. Oh. But so vision therapy is around for that long. But these cards are seen, the left eye sees the one with a green pointer and the right eye sees the one with a red pointer.
Okay.
And they are looking at that as, you can see the numbers are odd numbers on one side and even on the other, but she would see that as a single image, and she's putting the two pointers on the exact same point in space. So she's making them add together as a single binocular image in the brain.
Okay.
And if we go to the next one, so this one is combining eye teaming skills and focusing skills, and she's learning to become more flexible, being able to increase her focus. Or in this case, she's relaxing her focus while she converges her eyes in this example. That's called an aperture ruler. So she's got to get both eyes through the channel. And this is a 3D card through the telebinocular, and that's an adult who's in the vision therapy program. And she's looking in three-dimensional space with the pointers.
Okay.
And this is a focusing activity. And that clear patch lets me, he actually can't see out of his left eye. That clear patch lets me see through it to see if he's increasing or decreasing focus. But he doesn't see clearly. It's only light coming in and out of that eye.
Right.
So this is another child working on back and forth. You can see one aperture is a single window, and the eyes have to team through it, and the other one, it's two windows. The eyes have to diverge through it.
Right.
And that gentleman's working on the Brock string. He's actually quite an athlete in his own right, and he's getting his eye teaming feedback doing this.
Okay, great. Yeah, wonderful. So that was quite an array of pictures, and it really got to capture the essence of what happens in
a vision therapy program.
That's fantastic. Now you also collaborate with other organizations, other professionals, practitioners, in regards to
holistic.
Exactly, the whole child.
Yes.
So tell me about.
And you know what? There are adults in there too, and I want to bring up that it's sometimes the child, and sometimes it's the adult, and sometimes it's the family. There are times that I'm working with a family and I see that there's some dynamic issues, and maybe mom needs help. Right. Maybe mom needs to speak with someone. Maybe, you know, there's the dynamic of how does the parent best help and support the child. Right. And when I see that those things need some support, I sometimes will reference them to another professional. It could be a therapist of some kind. It could also be body work in terms of figuring out a way to let go of some of the excess tension and release. Right. I have a network of holistic professionals that I have partnered with and developed relationships with. That's so great. That I can send parents and their children to other people in other professions that get a more holistic sense of support.
Okay,
I
great.
don't work on eyes. I don't even just work on vision. I really address the whole person. And sometimes that means therapy, and sometimes that means this child seems to have an eye turn or a head turn maybe, where they do some things to compensate and make it easier to see. And doing things like that, I may send them to a chiropractor, because the chiropractor is the person who's going to help them figure out how to keep mobility and flexibility. And essentially, that keeps the nerves flowing. And so all of those.
Okay, good. I do want to show the 2 testimonial clips. If
Oh,
we
I
can
would
show
love to
those
share
now,
that.
too.
That's wonderful, yeah.
When you play bridge and you have a contract that you're supposed to make, you're supposed to plan out what you're going to do. And sometimes you have to change it in midstream. But you have to see where you're going. And I'm much more able to see where I'm going now than I was before.
If you took this off, for example, what would you expect to happen?
This thing will go down.
Right. So is that a good next move?
No.
Okay.
Not this one either.
Right.
I've always been a relatively good bridge player, but now I'm better because I think ahead.
Pivot with your fingers. Yes. Yes. Got a little tangled. What if you let it go back? See about, remember we talked about this when we did the one with a buzzer? Pivoting. Okay. Pivoting it before you try to take it off might be, for example, rotating it that way to get it easier to free up. Don't pull it. There you go.
We depend on our peripheral vision to maintain a stable horizon. Dynamic visual exercises which incorporate balance during movement help us to learn how to access and use our peripheral vision. This in turn leads to better eye aiming, eye teaming, confidence in movement, and enhanced depth perception.
I'm so happy we found you a year ago. I didn't know what to do. I knew the possibilities. I knew how smart he was, and school was no help, and doctors, pediatricians were no help. Matthew had no self-esteem. He thought he was dumb compared to all the kids in his class. He couldn't play group sports. He shied away from a lot of things, couldn't ride his bike, had no balance. And he's very smart and he can grab concepts really quickly, but he wouldn't show his smartness. He was afraid just because he was bothered by a few things. He was hunching over.
Yeah.
I don't know, he wasn't doing well. He was crying a lot. He was depressed.
And he was 10 years old.
All the teachers thought he was lazy because he grasped every concept very quickly. The teachers could not understand how can he ace the tests
And not
and
fill out
not
his
copy
homework.
from the board. I understand now that if you have no spatial awareness, your
Yes.
brain doesn't organize itself. If your brain doesn't organize itself, it cannot organize letters in words. Therefore, you never see a word exactly the same way. How could you have a word memory bank if you don't see them exactly the same way? How could you learn to spell? You can't. I think it should be implemented in schools. I think every child should be tested. And he finishes all his work at school and he has time to play with other children and he's happy as could be and he's interacting and he's again playing with words.
I got this.
Went overboard with the self-confidence. We went from not having any and crying every day, thinking that he thought that he was dumb, to having too much.
No.
He can handle anything.
Okay, so I wanted to get that in because the time is really going very quickly. As I tell all my guests, we're going through it. So I do want to mention, if you could just mention your website and your phone number and where you're located.
Thank you. The website is drslotnick.com. That's Dr. Slotnick, S like Sam, L-O-T, and like Nancy, I-C-K.com. We're in Central Avenue in Scarsdale.
Okay.
And our phone number is 914-874-1177.
Okay, great.
And we have, I should mention, free opportunities for learning in my office. Call us, and we'll let you know when our next workshop is. And we're happy to have people come in. They don't even have to be local. I am very interested in helping raise awareness and education because there are problems here that are readily solved and interfere with kids' potential.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That you also do the workshops and you're about collaborating with other professionals and getting what's best for the whole family. And so it's not like, come get your eyes done, goodbye. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but you found your niche, and it's more than just dealing with the eyes, it's dealing with the whole person, the whole family.
I love what I do. I can't be happier. I take care of people and support children, families, adults, to find ways to make the most natural, fully effective use of their vision and how they want to put themselves into the world. And it is a gift to be a support to people every day and to see children maximize potential.
Wonderful. Well, I'm really glad that you came on. Perfect timing as we go into the month of August and, recognize that the Vision Month. And so thank you.
Thank you, Cicely, for inviting me. It's been an honor to meet you.
Good, same here. I'm glad I really got an education myself. And so as we finish up, I'd like to say, your level of consciousness is the gateway to your future. Thank you.